Good night, good night, good night, good night, good night. Good night, y'all. Hey, Holly. Good night, my darling. Alright, so now is 7:03. So I'll wait another 2 minutes, then start. Hello. Hi, Ox. Okay, okay. We're just waiting for another minute or two. If there's any questions, remember to send in your questions, or if any concerns, you can send in your concerns as well. So I'll answer while we go through the session. All right. Good night. All right, so it's another minute because we're at 7:04. So 7:05 we can start run through or recap on the previous sessions, so we can have an understanding where we're coming from based on where we at tonight, or where we are tonight. All right. So if you have any question regarding weddings, we're discussing wedding tips. We're discussing the main topic that we're discussing, things that you need to do after you're engaged. And there are 10 points that comes with that tip. The first point is enjoy the moment. You know, you've been engaged, the question been asked, and you have answered. You're excited, so enjoy the moment while that lasts. The second point is talk to your fiance. The third point is to create a budget. Your fourth point is to narrow your date or season. Your fifth point is to choose a wedding venue. The sixth point is to create wedding inspirations. The seventh point is choose your bridal party. The eighth point is draft your guest list. The ninth point is hire your professional photographer. Last but not least, the 10th point is if all else fail, then hire a wedding planner or a coordinator. We have discussed enjoy the moment, talk to your fiance, creating a budget, and tonight we're going to discuss narrowing your wedding date or season and choosing a wedding venue. So those are the 2 points that we'll be discussing tonight, so we can have a better understanding how to move forward, right? Because choosing your wedding date, as I said, we discussed budgeting. So if your budget allow for the flexibility of your wedding date, consider the season. For example, if it's a summer wedding, is a fall wedding, is a spring wedding, or a winter wedding. So you'd consider which of the season you'd want to have your wedding. This season dedicates a lot of your decision, right? So if you decide on a dream venue, it's an outdoor, or if it's an outdoor event, outdoor venue, during a rainy month, make sure there's a plan B for the for that time frame, because if it's a rainy season, you want to choose a venue with contingency plan. For example, they understand that it's raining since morning. What are your options? What is it that we're going to do nevertheless, because the event have to go on? So that is also a consideration. So in choosing a wedding date, you normally consider the season, the time, and stuff like that. The season will also determine which flowers you choose, right? You can and cannot use, because you have different flowers bloom in different seasons. And what if you're a color lily person, or you are a sunflower person, or you are a sunflower person? It based on the season. So you would research those things to see what season these flowers will bloom, or what season that flowers won't bloom. So you have to bear that in mind as well. So the dates and the season determine on your the weather. For example, it's raining, you have to find a venue that can host an indoor or outdoor, or a venue that can give you a contingency plan just in case. Hi Mariki, just in case it's raining, right? The season can also determine the pricing of the venue, the wedding planner or coordinator, and photographers. Persons, as I said, quote you based on the season or the months that you're working with. For example, May, June, July, November, and December, those are popular dates. So you might get a higher quotation for those months, right? So what we normally do is advise our clients, okay, if you don't have a date, or you don't have a reason behind to put your dates, bear in mind that May, June, July, November, and December, those are peak, we call it peak season for weddings, right? So those are peak season. The following month, like February, August, September, and January, those are low season, right? And you have a tendency to get a better rate or a discounted rate those months. So you can bear that in mind as well. And it persons, because they can save big on the months that weddings don't really occur a lot, so they normally choose based on availability, work time, leave, and stuff like that, because there's a lot of things to consider when you're doing a wedding date, planning your wedding date, right? For persons visiting, or for your guests to be apart, you have to know if the time and the month is in their availability. All right. The second point that we said that we are going to discuss, good night y'all, is to choosing your wedding venue, right? Choosing your wedding venue, this is a big one. This is a big one when choosing your wedding venue. All right, so when choosing your wedding venue, is it outdoor or is it indoor? Or is it both? Right? So you need to ask those questions. What is it that you really want? Is it a outdoor wedding, indoor wedding, or you want both? Right? How many people can the venue accommodate? You're going to book a venue. Your numbers that you have, good night my darling, good night, the numbers that you have is 50 people, right? However, based on wedding have a tendency to increase than decrease, right? Final count, you have 65 persons, that's 15 additional persons to your list, right? Would the venue be able to accommodate those additional persons? So you need to find out what's the top number for the venue to host an event, right? So that's a part of it as well. So you would find out how many persons it can hold, and the space and availabilities of the tables and chairs and stuff like that. So you need to find out those questions in advance. There's also this point that is crucial, and it's location, right? Location. Bear in mind, if it's a commercial, it's an easily find location. Is it a location where you, the individual, you, the couple, would have to provide transportation for persons? Because is your guest, or is it that your guest can reach the location, access the location easily without any additional cost, right? You need to bear those things in mind. You might have guests that is located in St. Anne's and you're in Kingston, because all right, for example, you have persons who want to have a beach wedding. They're looking at Ochirais and stuff like that, because a lot of beaches down that side, right? The North Coast. Oh, is it that your guests going to be able to reach there if they're not driving their personal car? Even though you have persons who might have their personal car, but they'll rather to carpool, or they'll rather to go in a transportation where everybody live in the one area would leave to go to the next area. So you need to bear that in mind, so persons can be aware and persons can be comfortable, because after the event is finished, how are we going to reach back home, or how long is it going to take? Because going to an event for the entire day, you have to bear in mind that traveling afterwards, right? Or you might have your guests with you, and the event should finish at 8. By 6:30, 7 o'clock, once the dinner is served, they start leaving. Why? Because they have a distance going. So you need to bear that in mind as well, because those areas can have your wedding a little bit, a little disappointment in what you're expecting for your reception. All right, so bear in mind that location is a crucial point when you're choosing your venue. You also would want to know the availability of the venue, right? So if they're available the date that you're interested in, or the season, so you'd have to check their availability, the type of venue it is, right? Because you have different types of venue. You have a hotel which have a ballroom and stuff like that. They do host the ceremony at one location and the host the reception in another location, or it's a church venue, or it's a private venue. You need to know what type of venue is it that good night my darling, is what type of venue is it that you are booking for your event, right? So also layout. We have persons that might want a circular or a semicircle ceremony, right? While some venue won't allow us to do that based on the layout. Some venue is just the one layout, or you as the professional person in doing the decor would have to say, okay, let us do a little twist to it and stuff like that. Yes, you would say you'll do a little twist to it, but is the venue restrictions allow you to do that or not? Because you have persons who have a lot of restrictions, right? You have persons who say, okay, you cannot eat on the lawn, or you cannot do it like that, or you cannot do this. So you need to find out the restrictions of the venue and the layout, right? So we can know how to proceed, or the persons who are going to coordinate or decor your event would know how and what is it that they have to work with, right? Under the same breath, you'll find out the rate, because you're at as we mentioned in the session on Friday, budgeting. So all of this, you would have your budget sheet ready and waiting for your 2 to 3 different venues that you're shopping around with, which is the same as research, right? So what you would do is to find out their rates, their restrictions, their layout, the type of venue, and also rental. Is the venue of parking facility? Because you have invited your guests to your event. During the event, you hear persons start making alarm. This is missing, or that is missing, or what has happened and stuff like that. It ruined the whole wedding reception, or it ruined the whole day of enjoying your event, right? So what we normally recommend, booking a venue, they should have a secure parking where they have security guard to watch your guest vehicles, and to have a secure parking where they can park on a lawn or in a parking lot or wherever to secure their vehicle, right? From theft, and from also persons who would just drive past and it in your car and they run gone because there's nobody there to say, oh, this is mine, or you know, you want to say something to them regarding what the accident or the incident that had just happened, right? So we normally recommend parking, and if they don't have a parking on the spot, you have persons who would do shuttle service. So for example, their parking space is about 3 to 4 blocks down the road. What they would do is to have a shuttle to say, okay, good night y'all, to have a shuttle to take you from there to the venue, right? So at all times they would be transporting you to and from the parking space to the venue. So if they don't have an on-the-spot parking space, they'll have a space somewhere else close by, and they'll shuttle you transportation. So they will transport you from one point to the next point, right? Also find out if their facilities if their bathrooms are presentable, if their bathrooms are clean, if they do have disabled of the ramps for disabled persons, even in the bathroom, because you might have somebody who is in a wheelchair and they want to use the bathroom. Is it easily accessible for those persons? So what are the facilities that you have in place to accommodate a event? Because it doesn't have to be a wedding, it can be a party, or it can be any event, right? Do you have the facilities to accommodate persons who are disabled and stuff like that? Persons, my grandma might want to come, but she won't be able to take the steps. Is it there any other way or any other route to have her to be at the event without the hustle and the bustle? All right, so you'll ask those questions as well, because those are very important question that you would ask as well when choosing a venue. When choosing a venue, you would ask whether the venue itself provide catering or they allow you to take catering. This is where restrictions come in again. You have venue that provide meals, right? And for example, your fiance owns a catering company, so he'd rather to use our catering company to provide the meals for the event. Can we rent the venue and take our meals? You have some person would say no. Once you rent the venue, it's mandatory for you to take the meal. So you need to shop around to find out if there's any other venue in which that would accommodate you to take your meals based on the fact that you guys are in the catering business. So those are questions that you need to also bear in mind when you're booking the venue. So you want to know the restrictions, whether you can take you can take the meals, you can take rental items, you can take your decor persons, because at times they might have restriction where decorations are concerned. So you need to find out all those information before going ahead to book somebody else. And the venue that you have as your dream venue don't accommodate certain services out of once you book with them, you'd have to take their services, right? So you have to bear that in mind as well. All right. You also have persons who would want to know about bartending, right? Is it that they provide in the package, or they provide it as an additional service? Yes, we do have bartenders. Can we provide? So those are questions that you need to ask the venue as well, because as I said, restrictions, what you need to do is to ask them for their policies and guidelines, so you can be able to know what to pencil in and what to pencil out. What you would do is to find out the cost. You would find out the cost from them to compare to your costing, right? So that's where your budget sheet come back in place again. So what you would do is to find out all the information, what you can provide and what you cannot provide. So in that sense, you have a better understanding of know how to move forward with this venue. All right. So that's where it's concerned regarding renting the booking a venue for your event. Those are the things that you may need to consider, right? Those are the things that you need to consider when you're booking a venue. Know that you have an estimated budget based on the budget sheet that I discussed the session on Friday, right? You now can figure out how you can move forward in booking your venues, right? So what you would do is to, because you would have an idea of what type of wedding is it that you'd want to have. You'd want to have a winter wedding, a summer wedding, or you want to have a beach wedding, indoor wedding, what type of wedding. So you'd already have those information. And hopefully the venue that the 2 to 3 venue that you shop around and have in mind would provide all your needs and hopefully would provide all your wants. As I said, bear in mind that their restrictions is something that you need to look at, because at times you might have persons that can provide this service at a lower cost or provide this service as a gift. You need to find out if they are okay with that, right? There are also some questions that you need to ask yourself. There are some questions that you need to ask yourself when you're booking a venue, or site visit, site inspection is one of a big thing for you when you're doing an event. So you would say, okay, I have 3 different places in mind. You would call and book an appointment. When can you come view the property, and when can you come and view the property and discuss the details there, and then you'll discuss their policies and guidelines, their restrictions, you'd find out the availability, get the rates, and to find out what is it that they offer with their package, right? So when you reach to at those venue after the inspection, you personally have to ask yourself some question. Does the venue fit your vibe? Because you have venue that once you reach a venue, it's nice, the property, the ground is nice, but the type of vibe that you're looking, the venue not giving you that vibe. So you need to ask yourself, is it this venue, the venue that I am looking for? Well, what you would do there and then is to make your notes, right? Make your notes about the venue, your likes and dislikes and stuff like that, right? Do you have a gut feeling about it? What gut feeling you have about the venue, right? So you need to ask yourself those questions. If it give you the vibe, if you have a gut feeling, and is the venue naturally beautiful, or you would have to get additional inspiration ideas to enhance the venue for your event. So you need to look at that as well. If it is naturally beautiful, what is it that how can you work with that? What simple classy and elegant decor can you use towards enhancing the venue? So you're doing a garden wedding, right? And the ceremony is going to be held on a lawn. You don't need a lot of fabric and stuff like that. What you would do is to use maybe a floral arrangement to enhance the beauty it based on the venue. So you would know, be the judge for that venue, and you would know, meet with your person who's going to do the decor if the venue is not doing the decoration, and then you would say to the person, this is my idea, and then you'll take it from there. But if the venue is already nicely beautiful, naturally beautiful, then there's not much that we normally recommend. Just keep it simple, and the simpler it would be very nice and elegant, right? So you need to bear those stuff in mind as well. Or because to have a venue to redo a venue, because you have some venue, you definitely have to make over the venue based on what is it that you want. That is totally different from your getting a venue and then the venue is already beautiful and you're putting too much to it. So you have to be careful when you're doing that, right? And based on your site visit, then that will tell you what type of decor you need to do, based on your ideas that you have in mind, if it is too much or it's too less and stuff like that. All right. Is there any questions? Is there any questions? Are there any questions? All right, so as I was saying earlier on, that choosing your wedding date and choosing your wedding venue, that's the topic that we're on tonight, and we're giving some points of do and don'ts and things that you need to bear in mind. As I said, June, July, May, November, and December, those are the popular dates, that popular months for wedding. But when it's popular, venues, coordinators, wedding planners, photographers, those persons have a tendency to do a high price. So you need to bear in mind when you're choosing your date, have a significant around it. Why you're choosing this date? Is it that because we met this time and that, and you must have your significant around the date, and bear in mind that the season that you're doing it. It can be a rainy season, and if it's an outdoor venue, you have to ask, or you have to ensure that you have a contingency plan in place. If they don't, you would have to maybe provide a tent, right? So just in case it might be raining. At times, some venue is very beautiful, and having a tent would take away the beauty from it. But what if on that day it's raining? How are we going to do it? Right? So those are some questions and concerns that we need to bear in mind when choosing your venue and when choosing a date. Right? Choosing the venue, we have some points that we just discussed. Is it outdoor or is it indoor or is it both? So you need to ask yourself those questions. How many people can the venue accommodate? So that is a big question. So just in case, you might have a little spillover if the venue is flexible to accommodate those additional persons, right? You need to ask about the availability. You need to ask about their facilities for persons who disabled, persons who cannot take the steps, because you'll have persons who elderly who cannot manage the steps. Is it they have something that they can use, or is it wheelchair accessibles and stuff like that? So you need to bear those things in mind. Location is also a key point. Where is the venue located based on where your guests coming from, right? Because you might be from St. Thomas, but you want to have a wedding in Kingston. But we're in Kingston, you have to be realistic, because after the event, they would have to travel back home. So you don't want it too much for them. So you need to bear that in mind. Also, when you're choosing your venue, ensure that parking, you do have secure parking where a security guard will be there, and it would either be in a parking lot or on a lawn where the security can monitor what is going on. If it's on the street now, anything can happen. And then you're at the event, and somebody might say, oh, this might happen down the road, or that just happened, and it ruined the entire reception or the entire event that you're at, right? So we normally recommend to for parking. If there's no parking on the location and the person can provide a parking down the road or up the road or somewhere, however, you'd have to maybe shuttle from one to the next, then you'd have to consider that as well. But you'd have to bear that in mind, whether it would be on you, the guest, or you'd have to be on the person who is renting you the property, right? If it's on you, then you'd have to draw for your budgeting sheet and put it as a part of your budget. All right. And as I said, after viewing the property, there are questions that you'd ask yourself if you're feeling the vibe of the venue. Is this something that I'm looking for? Does the venue fit your vibe? Do you have a good feeling about the venue and stuff like that? Because once you're viewing a property, once you drive on the property, the welcome alone will let you know whether or not you're going to use this place, right? Because the customer service from the start to the finish, you see the property is nicely done and stuff like that. You have places where they have good customer service, but the property is not up to standard. But you, the person that you and the person that is going to do the event for you can transform it, right? So it's based on personalities, it based on how do you see the venue and stuff like that. So you would take it from there based on your visit of the property, right? And some property is naturally beautiful. If it's naturally beautiful, there's nothing much that you would crowd it with. You just keep it as natural as possible, and based on your site visit, that will determine and that would help you to have choose a venue and choose the decor and the inspiration behind it. All right, so those are my points for tonight for choosing a wedding date or season and choosing your wedding venue. Those are important just as anything else, and there are a lot of questions that you need to ask yourself and you need to ask the venue when doing your site visit. As I normally said, we recommend 3 to 4 different venues, and from there you can choose which of the venue would be the venue that you would be working with. All right, is there any questions? You can send your questions or concerns. So this information that we just discussed is going to be going to post it on the page so you'll have access to it. But if you need an in-depth spreadsheet, you can reach out to us on ambianceboutique7@gmail.com, or you can send us a message on WhatsApp or MSN message at 3208508. You can also DM us for information. We ask for you to like our Facebook page, that's Ambiance Boutique, and to follow our Instagram Ambiance Boutique 7, and to subscribe to our YouTube channel, so that's Ambiance Boutique as well. So you can like, share, subscribe, and you can also comment on our YouTube channel as well. If there are any questions or concerns, you can feel free to give us a call or send us a message, and we'll definitely reach out to you immediately. I'm here now. If there any question, then I'll definitely answer to the questions that you have for tonight. Choosing your wedding date or season, or choosing your wedding venue. So we're coming from because Friday we discussed budget, and tonight we're discussing choosing your wedding date or season and choosing your wedding venue. We have also discussed talking to your fiance. So coming Wednesday night, we will be discussing choosing your bridal party and draft your guest list, right? So for tonight, discussion was on the topic of choosing the date or season and choosing the seasons. All right, so the season we have summer, you have fall, you have winter, and you have spring. But the months that the months that are popular is May, June, July, November, and December, right? For February, January, August, and September, those are the slow months where you'd have a lower cost. But once it's in May, June, July, November, December, the cost for the venue, the cost for the coordinator, decorator, photographers, those services are more higher than the lower time the months. But what I'll do, I'll put it on as well. I'll put it on the Instagram page as well. Or if you want to have more questions, you can also send them by DM or send us an email. Right? Have your question been answered? Yes, so and when you're choosing those months as well, bear in mind if it's a rainy season, because you're most welcome, darling. Bear in mind if it's a rainy season, because if it's a rainy season, you want to know that you have a contingency plan in place, right? So you would have to determine whether it's you would have to determine whether it's the you would have to find out, not determine, you would have to find out whether the venue provide a contingency plan or the backup plan, which is the same as a backup plan, or you would have to provide that. So you have to bear that in mind. So that would be a part of your budget as well, right? So ask those questions to find out what is it that you would have to provide and what is it that they would provide. What are their restrictions and their policies and guidelines. So from there you'd know how to proceed, right? Because different venue, different policies and guidelines and different restrictions. Yes. All right. And as I said, the layout is also one a concern as well, because you don't want them to have like a L shape, or or just a U shape, and you would want to have a round, so you would have to bear that in mind as well. But for the shape, upon doing your site visit, you will know whether the shape would be able to accommodate what is it that you're looking for. Hey, skin guru, good night. All right, so you would find out if they provide a backup plan, or you would have to provide a backup plan, and find out the restrictions, find out about the catering and the bartending, find out if you can provide catering, or they will have to do it, if it's a must for them to do the catering, right? If so be the case for them to do the catering, most likely they would have to do a tasting, because you haven't eat from them before, so you'd want to taste the meal so you can know what is it to choose. You'd have the menu, so you'd know what to choose and stuff like that. There's a lot of things in choosing the venue, that the question that you need to ask the venue, and to find out that if it's something that you can work with. All right. Is there any other questions? Is anybody want to join the live? If anybody want to join the live, I'll definitely accept you guys. All right. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to upload this information. If you need a copy of the spreadsheet, then you can reach out to us for the spreadsheet. All right. And you'll definitely have that available for you. Is there any other questions? Choosing your venue or season, and choosing your date or season, or choosing your venue. That's the topic for tonight, and we just list a few points that are associated with each with the two topics that we're discussing. Been discussing once you're choosing a date and your season, you need to choose a date that, even if the date is rainy, you have to have a contingency plan for that. All right. Anybody want to join? Any other questions? All right. It seems like nobody talking tonight. Seems like you don't want to ask any question. You want me to throw out a few stuff, and you can hear what are the questions that you'll ask the venue. All right, so when you're choosing the venue, right, there are some questions that we need to ask. For example, how long is it that we have the venue for? Right, we're only hosting the reception. How long is the reception for? The time frame, right? How soon, if we're going to have an outside decorator, how soon can the person come to set up? Those are, you can write down these points, jot down these points. So you'd ask how long you'd have the venue for. So that's the time frame for reception only, or if you're having both ceremony and reception, what are the time frame for that? How early, what a time frame if you're having an outside decorator, what's the time frame for them to come and set up? We know that pulling down is immediately after, but for setting up the event, how soon can they access the property? If you're having an outside DJ or musicians, you need to find out when can they come to view the property, so they can have an idea of where they're coming if they haven't been there before, right? So you need to ask those questions as well. If you're going to use their musician and you have a soloist or somebody who is going to perform, you need to ask how would we work that one out, right? Is it that we need to come and meet the person before, or what we would do is to meet on the day of the, come a little bit earlier before the event, or meet the person that time? So you need to ask those questions as well, right? Ask them if you do allow to take wines on their property, and ask them if you're allowed to take your personal bartenders and stuff like that. So there are a lot of questions that you'd need to ask them, so you can have a better understanding of the venue that you are dealing with. All right, so I based on what is happening, I'm not seeing any questions from anyone, so I'm going to wrap up for tonight, and we'll be live on Wednesday, and we'll discuss the two topics that we'll discuss on Wednesday is creating wedding inspirations, and also choose your bridal party. So creating your wedding inspiration and choosing your bridal party, those are the 2 points that we will be discussing on Wednesday at 7 p.m. All right, it was my pleasure being here with you. If you guys need any more information, you can reach out to us at ambianceboutique7@gmail.com. You can call us at 320-8508. You can reach us, DM us on Instagram at ambianceboutique7, or Facebook page at Ambiance Boutique, and you can view our videos, or setting up, pulling down, and our execution on our YouTube channel, and that's Ambiance Boutique. If there's any other questions or concerns, just feel free to reach out to us, and it was my pleasure to be here with you tonight, and we'll be live on Wednesday at 7 p.m. to discuss 2 other topics. So we're getting in depth, and we're getting into it, so you can be aware of what to do, what not to do, and how to do it. If you do have other questions other from the topics that we're discussing, you can feel free to ask us as well, right? Because we are here to embrace your occasion. It doesn't matter what question you have at the moment. You can go ahead and throw out your questions, because that's why we're here, to help with what you're planning. All right, if you do need a copy of our budget sheet, you can reach out to us as well, and you'll get that to have an idea as a guideline. Thank you, Kids with Styles. You'd have that as a guideline to take you through the process, because that budget sheet would help you to accurately and to clearly state what is it. It's not an estimate, because what you would do, based on the different products and services that you are interested in, you would research. We call it chaperone. You will chaperone, fill in those slots, and then from there you will be able to determine who is going to be the vendor for this and who is going to be the vendor for that. And at the end of that, with the total figure that you have received, that's the amount that you would have to spend for your event. All right, and from there it would help you, because you would have to figure out who is it going to contribute towards putting on the event. Is it me and my fiance, or is it that family member would contribute? You have persons who would want to gift you something, right? So in that sense, you'll have a better understanding of what is it that you have to pay for and the amount that you would pay for it. All right, so those are the questions, those are the information that we have. And as I said, our budget sheet is available, so just reach out to us, send us a message or call us, and then we'll definitely send it to you, and then we can take it from there. All right, thanks much for joining. Thank you guys for joining. Thank you guys for listening, and thank you guys to being here with me tonight. It was my pleasure sharing these bits of information, choosing your wedding date and season, and choosing your wedding venue. There are the points that are associated with it. What I'm going to do, I'm going to put it on our page so it can be available to you, so you can have that to use, all right, as a guideline. Thanks so much again. It was my pleasure to be here with you tonight, and looking forward to meet with you. Looking forward for you to be on the live on Wednesday at 7 p.m. so we can discuss some more in depth on how choosing your inspiration for your wedding and to choosing your bridal party, because those are very important points as well. All right. Good night, and thank you again for being here with us. I am Tashana from Ambience Boutique, and if you want to reach us, you can send us a message on Instagram, DM us on Instagram, send us a message on our to our email as ambianceboutique7@gmail.com. You can like our Facebook page. You can subscribe to our Instagram, which is Ambience Boutique 7, and our contact number is 320-8508. Thank you guys. Good night, and we'll talk on Wednesday.